hope you guys can hear me. I'm here to talk about probably one of the most hottest topics in the Web3 space, chain abstraction. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone either is curious about it or everyone's already building on it. And it's one of the most hyped, maybe even overhyped topics in the space. But I'm here to give you sort of like the lowdown on what is possible today and what we are doing at Arcana, the way we look at it, and mainly like the downstream effect of chain abstraction and how it causes these so-called ripples in the matrix, as how we try to put it, right? So to get started, what we'll actually do is we'll raw dog it with a demo right here, right? So there's a lot of talk about chain abstraction. Talk is cheap, so we'll actually do a demo. We'll show you what chain abstraction looks like. So what we've done at Arcana is basically we have an SDK that exposes our protocol, and the idea is to basically hide away the chains from the users. Now users just have money, they spend it wherever they want to. We took this SDK of ours, we put it into a wallet. You guys should be able to kind of see this wallet show up here. And what this wallet is like your MetaMask. It's like any other EOA wallet, MetaMask, Rabi, etc. In fact, this address here, I just imported from my MetaMask. But what is different from MetaMask is, one is there is no chain selector. I don't select a chain to be on because that's chain abstraction. We're hiding away chains. And the next important thing that we do is we aggregate the user's asset balances across different chains. This is the first cool bit. So basically, if you see here, I have about 23 USDC across 4 different chains. And I have ETH across 4 different chains. I have USDT across 2 different chains. And this is what we show the user. This is something that is useful to the user to be able to know where is my money at, right? So this is the liquidity fragmentation that we are essentially trying to kind of unify. Now, while this is cool, unless I'm able to spend this, it's not great. So if I head over to an app like Aave, right? Aave is one of the most popular lending borrowing protocols out there. I'll just make sure that the internet's working well. So I'm on Aave's base market, right? So if I'm on Aave and on base, I should see my USDC balance on base, which is actually 8 USD fee, right? But we get Aave to show actually the combined balance of 23.01. Now, if I try and supply, there should be actually no way I should be able to supply more than this 8 USDC that I hold before, unless I bridge first, right? So, but let me try and supply 10. Now, when I do this, what the Arcana network is doing is basically parsing what is called a user intent, right? As a user, you don't intend to bridge. Nobody wants to bridge. You need to bridge. But your intention is to spend 10 USDC on base. So what we tell the user is, okay, so you want to spend 10 USDC on base on Aave. You have 8 USDC on base. We can get the rest from your Arbitrum balance. And for a fee, we'll make it happen, right? So me as a user, if I like that fee, I click one button. My entire request is going to get verified. The liquidity that I'm missing on the base side will get collected on my Arbitrum, was it? And supplied to me on the base. And once I have it, my transaction to Aave will also get submitted. Everything just happens, one button click, matter of 20 seconds. I didn't have to switch context. I didn't have to go to a bridge stuff over, nothing like that. So this is what chain abstraction can make possible, right? So this is what we want to bring to people and all sorts of apps. So just moving along over here, right? So what we just sort of saw here is a chain abstraction that works today. It's real. So this is something that we're going to make available to all the devs out here. Very, very soon you can come to talk to us about it at our booth here. But what we've done is basically help users unify their asset balances and spend this unified balance almost instantly. Now what this does is basically 10x's my user experience, right? So now I just have money on whatever chains and I just spend money just like I would in the Web 2 world, right? Back in the day, I think many of you are quite young. If I had an Indian credit card, I couldn't buy stuff on, say, a Chinese e-commerce site. But now I can use my credit card to buy anything. I can pay my AWS bills in US dollar. I can pay for something that I buy on Alibaba, whether it's charged in Chinese yuan, and it just happens seamlessly. And this is what we want to bring to Web3, and this is what chain abstraction can make possible, right? So this is a huge 10x jump, and whenever you bump up the user experience 10x, it comes with very significant side effects. So what are those, right? So we already talked a bit about how it affects users and users' experience. But just to break it down a bit more, right? So what we've basically removed is this friction of needing to bridge. Now, while it may seem trivial, what it enables is basically users have money now. I have money, I spend it, right? Now, this is great because for new users who are coming into crypto, it's a very familiar experience. It's just like me using my credit card. Nothing changes, right? And for guys who already been in the space, we solved the fragmentation problem because like many of you who've been using DeFi will probably notice that you now suddenly have these bits and pieces of USDC, USDT, ETH lying around on different chains, and now you have to sit and bridge and things like that. So the next time your friend comes and gives you some alpha on some meme coin, you don't have to now worry about, right? You can just spend. The next is, how does this affect apps and developers, right? So we've seen in the past how Uniswap built one of the best sort of like AMM models with their V1, V2, V3, and soon V4, and they launched it on Ethereum. And a bunch of other guys just basically forked Uniswap and launched it on something like, say, Binance Chain. And the only reason they were able to do that is because Uniswap was not on Binance Chain. But the product is not innovative in its own, right? And now that's Uniswap's loss because they were not on Binance Chain. So now Uniswap basically has to go to every chain and deploy instances of their app on all of these chains instead of focusing on innovating on their AML, right? Maybe we would have had V4 by now if they wouldn't have to kind of keep expanding to all these chains. But now with this, what changes is that you can actually, as a developer, go and build on any chain you want, right? I want to build on Base because of the lovely things that Soumya was talking about. I'll go build on Base. But a user can come to me from, say, Arbitrum, Optimism, wherever, and spend their money on my new innovative DEX on Base just because chain abstraction makes it possible, right? I don't have to bridge into that ecosystem. So this removes like massive friction. So the idea is that users can use any app built anywhere, and developers build on the chains that give them the most value, whether it's Bera chain and proof of liquidity and being able to kind of monetize their users, or whether it is Base with their fast transactions and low fees. Build wherever it makes sense for you. Users will come to you with their funds wherever they are, just like it happens in Web 2. This further has downstream effects right to the chains, right? So now if a developer is building on any chain that they want, then what they're doing is that they're not chasing users and TVL. So right now, I'm sure many of you built apps will probably build something on, say, Polygon because they were giving you a grant. Or you built on ZK Sync because, they were getting a lot of TVL and a lot of users. And then once ZK Sync airdrop is done, then the users disappear, the TVL disappears, and things like that. Then now you're wondering, where do I launch next? And all this while you're really not innovating. But now with this sort of like new paradigm that's going to come into the picture, what developers can do is basically demand from chains very specific innovative features. So, it has to be features like, is it cheaper? Is it faster? Is it more decentralized? Is there something more innovative? Can you give me some sort of like networking benefits if I build with you? Will you introduce me to VCs? Will you introduce me to users, things like that, whatever, functional, non-functional, operational, non-operational, technological, or otherwise. Now, these demands will essentially force chains to innovate themselves. So if you're a general purpose chain, I think you're largely going to be NGMI in the space. And it is going to require all of these chains to really innovate or just perish. So our take is that, the Ethereums of the world will survive, probably a bunch of L2s like Base, Optimism, Arbitrum, and maybe some of these alt VMs. But soon what what's going to happen is people are going to start building their own app chains because they want to be able to customize it to their needs. And this is going to be possible. So if you're building a game today, build it on your own app chain. Chain abstraction will allow users to come spend on your game, on your chain, and spend your gas token or your whatever assets, native assets you support. We'll just make it possible, right? So this is the 10x bump in user experience that we will bring. You already brought. We're almost there. So if you want to talk about it, hit me up on Telegram. Go to our website. We have a booth right there. Come talk to us about it. We'll tell you all there is about this brand new technology and how this paradigm shift is something that you guys can leverage and do something with. Thank you so much.